Yes! Yes! Come to Papa!
So, this is just going to be a nice, short video this time. Just getting my beginning thoughts about this game out into the world because it deserves all the attention it can get, honestly. I plan on working on a deep dive into my detailed thoughts surrounding everything about this game that I can think of, much like how I do with the rest of the videos on this channel, because this is a topic that I've been really passionate about for so long since I've basically become a massive fan of it ever since its inception. But for now, I'm just going to be talking about my quick baseline thoughts. So, in short, this game is phenomenal. Every bit as good as the original, which, yes, I did replay recently, all for the purpose of comparing these two. And I dare say that Rebrushed might even be a superior final product overall. The original Epic Mickey was an incredibly creative concept, with an amazing story, great world building, phenomenal characters, one of my favourite art styles in any game ever, a really solid soundtrack, and really interesting status quo shakeups when compared to the average piece of Disney media. The game was, of course, not perfect, as the controls were often irritating, the fetch quests became annoying at times, and the camera was very tedious to work around. But despite those hiccups, I think that this game holds up really well, and I've maintained a deep attachment to it ever since I started playing it for the first time. It wasn't my favourite game of all time, but it made a really strong contender with just how phenomenal its amazing spots are, and Oswald specifically became one of my favourite characters ever, because of this game specifically. However, with Rebrushed, there's a lot of interesting things to look at individually in regards to what I think about the game compared to the original. For the most part, it's all very positive, with just a couple nitpicks here and there. First off, this game's visual quality is absolutely incredible. The models, the physics, the superb animation, seriously, this remake absolutely blows the original game out of the water in terms of its upgraded animation quality. Things in Wasteland feel so much more alive and dynamic, especially in regards to the characters. Everyone feels much more cartoonish in their movement compared to the original, which obviously fits the world quite well, but it also makes everyone feel more like actual characters rather than just stationary objects to interact with, like the original game could feel at times. Now, upon the gameplay trailer's release, I did have my doubts initially about how the lighting and the textures looked, as I felt that the game looks a bit too bright and colourful in what is essentially supposed to be a near completely ravaged and war-torn world that the original designed to make it look more dark and gloomy, and on top of that, with the exception of the absolutely gorgeous new menus, the user interface for the main gameplay just isn't as visually appealing. I just much prefer the original's more sketchy stained paper aesthetic that the text boxes and the health icons have, compared to the new, more inky look that Rebrushed brandishes. Thankfully, however, in the final game, while the UI can't be changed, we can change the lighting settings to make it look so much closer to the original aesthetic that fits the game so much better. I still think that the original has a better visual art style overall, but this new one is a really solid adaptation. It is because of these things, however, that I believe that the atmosphere in Rebrushed loses a lot of its luster. The new enemy designs are now much more cartoonish and colourful, which, when combined with the new look, makes the world feel a lot less terrifying. I mean, the original game was really freaky to look at sometimes as a kid. Much darker than your average Mickey Mouse cartoon, which gave Epic Mickey a lot of its original personality. Rebrushed, unfortunately, just doesn't scratch that itch, and it doesn't help that the difficulty in this version of the game is much easier. Not that the first game was hard necessarily, it's just that I almost never feel as threatened by anything in this game when compared to the original. Even the animatronics, which posed a decent threat in the original game, seem to have died down a lot in difficulty. Anyway, those are my negative rants. Let's get back to the more positive side of things now. The camera and the controls have been vastly and significantly improved. Mickey is much smoother and easier to control, the new dash, ground pound and dodge features are neat additions to the moveset, and the camera in this game actually functions as a camera. Plus, the option for motion controls for manipulating the cursor, at least on applicable devices, is a neat inclusion for people that prefer that method of gameplay. It's not something that I personally used ever, but there's no reason why the inclusion isn't a net positive. On top of that, the additional collectibles like all of the amazing new concept art, the new camera mode to mess around with, and the costumes returning from Epic Mickey 2 is a great addition. Plus, having the option to retry the projector screen stages at the cinema finally gives that place a purpose. Especially now that the projector screen levels have much more things to find in them. Speaking of the projectors, a lot of them have been reworked to fit with the new controls that Mickey has access to, as well as having multiple new pathways to go, which made playing this game feel a lot more interesting on a repeat playthrough. The people behind the game clearly had a lot of passion for the project. This game is a little bit buggy, unfortunately. Not to the extent of its sequel, but I did notice a few visual and audio glitches, most notably in the 2D cutscenes, which are great stylistically, but don't change much from their original incarnation. The main thing that's been removed from them are references to the Wii Remote, as the game was originally a Wii exclusive. But it's done very awkwardly, sometimes having literally nothing on screen when referring to the controls during tutorial cutscenes. However, outside of those few issues, I'm still quite satisfied with the final game. I'm not quite ready to say it can fully replace the original, but I can say that this version of the game is much more fun to play through thanks to the new quality of life improvements. I just kind of wish that the original atmosphere remained the same and that the game wasn't as easy as it was, although the latter problem could easily just be because I know these games inside and out by now. So, yeah, this game is still amazing. I'm not quite sure where it sits on an official rating out of 10 yet, which is what I tend to do with these videos. Pretend that I didn't forget about it in my Pokemon X and Y video, and pretend that I always showed it off as being an 8.5 out of 10 game. But I will be sure to do so when I make my full deep dive analysis when that video officially comes out. So be sure to keep an eye out for that, and subscribe if you want to be notified about its release. However, for the sake of this video, just know that I absolutely love this game. I'm still so happy that this remake even exists to begin with. I really hope it does well so we can get more games in the series, because while the sequel wasn't anywhere near as creative or atmospheric, I just want to see more of what this wonderful, disturbing, magical, upside-down world of Disney has to offer. Feel free to comment your thoughts on this game for yourself, and I wish you all a great day. Bye.